going back to economics, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we value? Whatever it is that you value, your time, your energy, and your resources automatically go there. You see, the reason why we spend our money, 98% of what we make outside of our community, is because 98% of what we value is outside of our culture. That's why. That's what we're dealing with. 98% of what we value is outside of our culture. So a part of what we have to do is put value back in the culture. You see, the culture got to be fly. Being African cannot be synonymous with being poor. It can't. You see, being African got to be fly. We got to be able to market our clothing, our shoes, our everything to these young people, because they're bombarded with images and people telling them what to spend their money on. Now, I live in Atlanta. I drive through the West End all the time. I see billboards with $1,500 shoes in an impoverished black community. How is that possible? You see? Because the psychology of most of our people says to see value in European culture. That's what the cultural construct of capitalism tells us. So the way that we are spending our money in capitalism is not wrong, y'all. Capitalism tells you to spend your money with white folk because it tells you that the value is in European culture. There you go. And under capitalism, it is. You see, that's what we're dealing with. So you want to know how close you are to liberation? Look in your damn closet.
Give it up, family.
What's good? What's happening? Y'all know what it is. Well organized lie. The piece of disorganized truth. Every time. So we here with brother DJ. What's going on, bro? Hey, you know we here to really organize that truth. And the truth is, we're lagging behind in economics, and the brother has an excellent plan that's actually operating and is in effect. We're just gonna need a lot more support because it's a progressive program. He's gonna go into the ins and outs. We at Clark, Atlanta University, right? Beautiful campus, and it is what it is. So, brother DJ, let's talk about ULU for a minute. What inspired you to even begin to start ULU?
You know, first off, appreciate you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to the family. I got started with ULU back in 2011. It actually didn't even start off as a cooperative. It really started off as kind of like a think tank of some brothers and sisters who sat at the table and decided to begin to craft a model by which we could change our situation economically as a people. So we didn't really know what it was going to look like, but we knew that we needed to engage in a process by which we could present a plan and a process to our people by which we could, you know, solve our problems. So out of those series of meetings and conversations, we decided to form a cooperative, which eventually became Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, because we learned through research and study that a cooperative model really is consistent with our culture as African people. It's in keeping in line with who we're supposed to be, morally, ethically, spiritually, and all of those things. It's just in how we organize our economics. So out of those series of meetings came Us Lifting Us.
Okay, and that's very interesting. We're gonna get into, you know, is it any working models that people can look at and see how this works? We're gonna get into that. But I want to make a statement. I want to say that our biggest problem is us supporting us. That's why I like the, you know, name us. You know what I mean? Other than us, that's important. And you can tell in our communities that we don't support ourselves, based off the fact that we live in hoods. Not all of us, but some of us do, right? And that's based off of the community not having the money, not owning and operating the money-making mechanisms in the community. And so we allow other people, right, to control the money-making mechanisms and take the money out and build their communities. They have strong communities based off of the monies of our people. And so are you saying that us uplifting us is a solution to that problem?
Exactly, that's what we're saying, because, you know, Dr. Claude Anderson, noted economist, says that 98% of the money that comes into the black community goes out of the black community within a few hours, right? Meaning that we're not able to recirculate those dollars in order to solve many of the problems that we see. Us Lifting Us takes the position that The reason why 98% of what we make we spend outside of our community is because 98% of what we value is outside of our culture, right? And so going back to your question, we have a cultural disconnect. We don't see value in our culture as a people. So consequently, we ride past black-owned businesses in favor of businesses that operate according to a European construct. You see what I'm saying? So one of the things that Us Lifting Us was faced with addressing from the onset is how do we put value back in our culture? We had to be able to answer that fundamental question because, you know, some people say, well, if we just open more black businesses, we can solve the problem. That's not going to solve the problem because we got to understand that most of the businesses that we have in our communities are not even being patronized on the level that they need to be viable. You know what I mean? So our people are still culturally orientated to support white-owned businesses or really to support European culture. And so we have to address that issue because, again, just creating more black businesses creates more black businesses for Ray and Man to ride past, you know, looking for what they see value in. You know what I mean? And so the economic question is how do we organize ourselves to solve our collective problems? Many of the social problems that we see in our community are not really problems. They're symptoms of a much larger problem, right? And that common core problem, in my opinion, is that we don't have power and control over our collective lives, you see? And so, as a consequence, our economics is really, the thing about it, the way that economics plays out, we are told how to spend our money in this system, in this capitalist system, because we're told what to put value in. And so, unfortunately, African people of African descent have bought into capitalism so much so that we see the predominant value in European culture. This is why they can market European goods to us and we gravitate to that, whether it be Gucci, Fendi, Michael Kors, you name it. You
Facts.
see, exactly. All of those things have a certain appeal to our people because we see that as successful.
And me and you had, this is what turned me on the issue because I've been a businessman all my life. But we had that conversation in the Apple. Remember that? And you hit me with something I couldn't deny. You said, you can have as many businesses as you want. You can do, but if they don't value the product you have, you know, we got the shooter RBGs. Niggas footwear, right? But the thing is, people have to value that product. They have to feel proud in purchasing that product, right? That's important. And so even with, say they put value in that, right? So it's a community thing because we got Africa on the sneak and all that. But basically, it needs to support the community at home,
Right.
Because then we'll become the people who take the money out of the community, go move in the outskirts, live amongst our open enemies and all that, right? So we end up becoming the same thing we claim to fight against. And so I'm thinking uplifting us kind of solve that problem. Now, here's a good question for you. Is there any working models out there that the people can get their hands on and kind of look at?
Yes, and that's, let me go before I answer the latter part of that question. You know, we have to, you know, we've unfortunately produced a generation of people in our age group that talk black but really desire to live white. you know what I mean? And so talking black is popular now. But we still desire all of the vestiges that come with living in a European society. You know what I mean? Because overall, we still see European culture as superior. And that's a subconscious thing. That's a deep-seated issue that we have that we can't deny. And it really doesn't matter how many lectures you've done, how many books you've written, you know what I mean, how many radio interviews you've done, unless you have really taken the time to deconstruct your own psychology and understand that oftentimes your thoughts are not even your thoughts, your values are not even your values. They have been given to you by a dominant or another people. You see, and you're just acting out, you're just playing your assigned role. Then we become those proverbial fence rattlers, saying one thing, but really desiring to live a totally different life. And so I ask the question all the time, are you at the meeting or are you at the lecture because you're too broke to do anything else? You see, if you had $100,000 in your checking account, would you even be here?
Right,
would you even value this information? Are you here simply because there's really no requirement for you to do anything? And so we have to understand that the conscious community is not like a social hangout. It can't be that. A movement has to move. It has to have energy. It has to go somewhere. You see what I'm saying? So it's not a place where you just come and hang out until you figure out a scheme to get you some money on the backs of black people. You know, there's an African proverb that says, be leery of the person who uses as a ladder other people's backs. And unfortunately, we've created a model in the conscious community for that to take place.
Because without even knowing it.
Right. Where we engage in the same type of usury under the guise of consciousness or black power that the European culture still projects on us. We're just doing it to our own people. And so, again, going back to the root of cooperatives is togetherness, it's unity, it's love, it's all of those things, not just in word, but in deed. And so for me, as someone who has been, you know, at this table constructing this model, one of the things that ULU does from the onset, it checks how African you are. It really does that. You see, because it forces you by the very nature of it to give of yourself to the greater good.
I agree with you, and we started a shoe company based off that cooperative economics, the give back programs. Programs like affiliate programs, you put it on the banner on your site, and if you produce, you can get money off of it. So anybody can do that. Get a website and do that. We also have the wholesale program. Nike executive, Adidas, Puma, they're not going to come to you and say, we're going to give you these shoes wholesale.
Right.
And you can make money. They're not going to do that. And so we understand that, right? But we also understand the greater need of coming together with more people. It's just power in that.
Right.
So let's talk about living examples of this.
There is a model in the Basque region of Spain called Mondragon, Mondragon. Anybody could Google it, pull it up in YouTube and read about this cooperative, which is in the Basque region of Spain that employs over 200,000 people and generates $1 billion in annual revenue a year. It is the largest employer of people in that particular part of Spain. And that cooperative has been around over 60 years at this point. You see, and it's a multi-billion-dollar corporation where people have 100% guaranteed employment. So much so, they operate in many different sectors. And if there's one sector of business that slows down, they simply retrain the people to work in a different sector. So they don't have issues of layoffs and people being fired. But the beautiful part about it is that the people that work for the cooperative, they actually own the cooperative themselves. They own the corporation. You see, and there's no other model that creates the win-win like that, like a cooperative. A member-owned, a member-controlled cooperative, where you have the ability to be employed by the cooperative, but you're also an owner as well. You're
going to work harder.
Exactly.
For yourself, like a business owner does. And then I like the part about not being unemployed.
Exactly.
Okay, that if an industry slows down, say the shoes slow down, then this picks up, right? All you do is retrain and shift over that. And I think that's a very powerful thing. Because right now we like sitting ducks.
Right.
You get a job, you get picked off.
Right.
They get rid of you, they bring in new people and train them. That's crazy.
Exactly.
And so I think that's a strong model. So now what we really want to do is we want the people to get, behind us on this program. We got House of Consciousness, they're supporting us in this. You know what I'm saying? But the main question from all of us is, when you already have an existing business, right? How does that fit into us uplifting us? Like, we put hard work into what we're doing. Do we just come in and relinquish all control of it? How does that work? If you already have an existing business and you want to join the co-op, I know you can join it singly and have nothing to do with your business in it, but suppose you want to use that power of that. How would that work?
That's an excellent question. Let me go back and deal with the first part of your statement, because unless and until we really deconstruct the capitalist economic system, we really won't be able to really fully understand the true value of a cooperative, right? And I shared this on Sinetta TV during the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. Capitalism as an economic system is based on the cultural construct of Europeans. Okay, it is the way that Europeans have decided they're going to come together to meet each other's needs in business. And so that particular economic system is really born out of a cave-like environment. This is why capitalism as an economic system is so predatory. You see, as a scholar, you know, Sheikh Anta Diop did the two cradle theory, where he showed the difference between European culture and African culture. And if you look at capitalism as an economic model, you see that it is indicative of European culture. It is very aggressive, it is competitive, it's rooted in scarcity and lack. You see, it produces violence, it produces all of the things that we see in our community and across the globe.
It needs a host.
Exactly. You know, Amos Wilson called it a vampiristic kind of model, right? But then when you look at cooperatives are really indicative of who we are or who we're supposed to be as African people. It's a communal based system.
Right.
It's no big I's and little U's. We're all equal and we all have value because we are all human. You see, in terms of the African core of being, you see what I'm saying? I am because we are. You see what I'm saying? And so it's a much more holistic way of doing business. The other point is, being involved in a cooperative economic model does not mean that you cannot create wealth for yourself. You see, it does not mean that. It's just that within the system of cooperatives, we don't want somebody to gain so much wealth that they have the ability to exploit and abuse other people. That's what we're already going through now.
Raise prices. Like Jordan can raise a sneaker to $200-$300,
right?
And it's cool. Like come on, man. Like people getting their heads shot off of that.
Exactly.
Like those NBA jackets, those high prices, right? I get that. So you kind of reel people back in and keep them in the reality of what's going on. I get that.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And so now to answer your question, if someone already has an existing business, the cooperative, Us Lifting Us, also has the ability to form partnerships with our brothers and sisters who are also in business for themselves, because we recognize we have millions of people all over this country who are in business and provide a great service and product to our people, right? So we don't want to lose that. That is important. So we have the ability now to partner with existing businesses to say, hey, the percentage, let's negotiate a percentage. If you need X amount of dollars for your marketing to ramp up your production or what have you, Us Lifting Us may be in a position to help with that. And then based on a percentage negotiated, we turn that percentage of the business into a cooperative for the collective. Smart. You see, right, exactly. Because ULU as a model has to be about the business of creating cooperatives. That's right. Otherwise, we are simply creating a system of capitalism in blackface. You see, which is going to lead to that domination, exploitative kind of thing that we're working so hard to get away from. The other point is this: we have to recognize that predatory capitalism creates an incentive for people to use and abuse other people for the sake of profit. This is why, to your point a minute ago, you can be working a job making $25 an hour, and then the business owners say, well, let's bring someone in who will do the same job for $15 an hour.
Walt Disney just did that. They got people out of there, they switched up, changed up. You know what I'm saying? They routinely do that.
Right, because there's no value in you outside of being an instrument of labor. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to know Ankh as a person, as a man. Right. As a father, you see, they have no desire. You are just an object to be used and abused and then eventually discarded. And some other company picks you up, you'd be more than happy to get picked up by another company and get used and abused again as an instrument of labor. So where does this stop?
It doesn't stop because this system was based off of capitalism. Exactly. That's the very reason why we're sitting here in these chairs right now, because it was capitalism, you know what I'm saying, that drove the European machine, right, and enslaving people. That we were product and goods. And so we see that system has not changed. And so that's interesting that you looked at that model and you're bringing it to being. And so we got to support the brother. What's the website?
www.usliftingus.com. usliftingus.com.
I know the brother, very, very astute in what he's talking about, fearless in his work ethic. And we appreciate you. Sarletta TV appreciate you. Shout out to Sarletta and the whole House of Consulates. Honorable Squad Up. We just appreciate the work. And as a matter of fact, how many flyers did you give out at the Million Man Walk?
You know, we went up to the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. We took a delegation of us Lifting Us members, and we passed out about 50,000 flyers on that day in an effort to get the word out and to really bring awareness to the need for us to be engaged in cooperative enterprise. And the interesting part was when we had a moment to converse with some of the people that were there, many people expressed to me that economics was the main reason they came to the march, to really hear a message pertaining to that, right?
You had that message, and you were supposed to get a chance to speak, but the time ran out, and it was just nonsense. But I wish you could have grabbed that stage. That would have been like, that would have did it. We're going to get another moment like that, man. You were supposed to get on that stage with that. You had the economic angst. Okay, so we have been talking about the Million Man March, and you was supposed to get up on the podium. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I was invited to speak at the march, but you know, ran into some logistical issues in terms of time, so I wasn't able to address the family. But you know, so I look at it as an opportunity delayed, not denied. You know, and that's also part of the reason why I'm here and with SciNet. And I did have an opportunity to, you know, be on SciNet TV during the march. They were there as well. But the thing is, you know, like I said before, I was going to give specific instructions on how we can take charge of the economics of our communities, because that's what we have to do. And in my opinion, cooperatives have to be at the table in any discussion about Black economic empowerment. You know what I mean? Because what happens is, if cooperatives are not at the table, then we end up talking Black capitalism by default. You know what I mean? And we got to understand, we are not going to get out of this situation practicing the same economics as our oppressor. It's not going to happen. Because like I said on SciNet TV, capitalism as a construct is a relationship destroyer for African people. We have to understand that, because it's indicative of the Europeans' need to compete. You see, so much so that it becomes a warlike environment in business. Now, what does it say if we are people already operating under oppression, participating in an economic system that further oppresses us with each other? You see what I'm saying? And we wonder why we end up in these types of situations. So the more cutthroat you are, the more less honest, whatever, all of those things becomes incentive for you to make it in this particular system. You see, so we take the position that real wealth at the end of the day is just a byproduct of healthy relationships between people.
True.
It's an economic cooperative, but we focus very little time on money. We are in a relationship building business, because we feel that once the relationships are established, the wealth is already there. There's a certain amount of wealth that you have, there's a certain amount of wealth that I have. But if we can't agree on anything, if we're constantly fighting, or if DJ has bad character, how are we going to be able to establish trust long enough to build anything? You see? So we have to get to the point of being able to understand how we are being pigeonholed in an economic construct that serves our oppressor and not our own needs.
I mean, that's important, man. We're talking about relationships, and like we had business dealings back and forth, and it's never a problem, because we developed a friendship and an understanding. And a lot of times we don't have that. We don't have that trust factor. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important, and the co-op kind of builds that. Did you want to talk about kind of like the membership? We haven't really talked about that.
Definitely.
Let's talk about how they can get joined up for this.
Definitely. You know, right now there are 3 ways for you to become members. You can join as an individual, as a family, or as a business. Because Us Lifting Us is a for-profit business enterprise. And so there's no limit to the number of members we can have in this organization. Members don't have to reside in the continental United States, and you don't even need to be a U.S. citizen, so to speak, right? So it's truly a global movement that's open to all Africans, regardless of geographic location. But in addition to that, we ask people to pay an annual membership fee of $50. That's really all that's required to maintain an active membership. There's just that if you want to take the next step and actually become an investor, that is open as well, but there's no requirement to do so. So I ask the question all the time, is $50 worth you or important enough for you to work to secure the future of your children and your grandchildren? Most people will say yes to that question, right? If you put, is $50 small enough, right?
You should sit there and be natural. You good? Go ahead.
Yeah, but is $50 enough to help you secure the economic future of your children? And most people would say yes. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And basically, that is all that's required.
So the membership allows you what? The $50 membership. Does it afford you employment? Is that part of that phase?
Yeah.
When you get to that certain level.
Exactly. Exactly.
When the whole co-op gets to the point where it can start producing jobs, the $50 lets you know that you're in. Is that what you're basically saying? You're a member, you're in.
Right. Well, the $50 primarily goes to us being able to promote the co-op around the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain administrative costs and things like that
Right.
that are associated, traveling to different cities to promote the co-op, flyers, different things like that, right? But in addition to that, our premise is that we have to build large-scale cooperatively owned businesses that are rooted in our community. So our flagship business enterprise is what we call the Us Lifting Us Market and Exchange, or ULU Mart, which is going to be about 150, 175,000 square foot facility that has the ability to employ hundreds of people at a time. So I ask people all the time, picture a big box facility on the size of a Walmart or a Home Depot, that size. And inside of that space, there are hundreds of different businesses operating. A black farmer's market, a movie theater that shows black produced films, right? A lecture hall, food court. But all of these things are owned and controlled by the collective. You see, so it becomes that social hub as well as obviously an economic hub for our people. It becomes the place where Ankh can go and give his presentations and not have to worry about the politics not lining up. You see, it becomes the place where people who just might want to hang out can go and connect to Wi-Fi and engage in business. You see, and build those relationships. So that's a part of what we're talking about. But most importantly, it has the ability to employ our young people. You see, and get them acclimated in the process of cooperative economic development from an African perspective. You see, so that they know they don't have to engage in cutthroat behavior for the sake of making money. That there's a way for them to take care of their needs and meet the needs of their responsibilities as a man or as a woman that provides positive, healthy relationships. That's extremely important.
Absolutely.
You see, but also keeps them culturally connected. So they have a vested interest in promoting the culture. You see, so we are very passionate about this idea and this concept, and we feel that now is the time that our people, in terms of broadly, the general public is ready for it as well.
I think they're ready. So let's talk about the investment stage.
Okay, for those brothers and sisters who desire to invest, then we ask that they invest in increments of $1,000, and that secures what we call one co-op unit. They're issued in $1,000 increments, right? And so they will get a return based on the percentage of units that they earn or that they own. You see, so if you have 10 units and I have one, you get 10 times the return that I do.
Exactly.
But in terms of power, we're all equal because each member has one vote and one vote only. So it's a fully democratic process whereby everybody is equal, regardless of the number of investment units any individual member may own. So it's a way that we don't allow one small group to commandeer the whole process. Correct. Or one person being able to write a big check, you see what I'm saying, and skew the organization their way. No, it's a way that we keep everything above board, but more importantly, all of our members are equal.
I get that. So no matter how many units you own, your power is just that one vote. I just wanted to kind of bring that up. That's kind of important. That seems to be a real good, excellent system. So how close are you to getting to the point where we start to open up businesses and start to, how many more people do we need to join to really get the process going?
Excellent question. Right now, we're in the middle of our what we call our March to March campaign. March 19th will be our anniversary, so to speak, where we meet as an organization, all of our members from all over the country, all over the world, really, because we're in 7 countries. We primarily come to Atlanta to discuss member business, but also we invite the general public to learn more about this particular brand of cooperatives. And with the March to March campaign, we are in the phase of building membership. Our goal is to be at 1,000 members by March 19th.
Okay.
So we're about a quarter of the way. We're a little bit more than a quarter of the way there.
Okay.
Right? And so we need current members to begin to reach out to prospective members, but we also, by way of this video, it's important for other people to connect with the process as well. And so with 1,000 members, we feel that that will be enough of a buy-in from our people to go to the next phase, to begin to capitalize the venture. We're not requiring our people to invest at this point. We just want them to be confident in this process enough to join. And then come March 19th, we will lay out the next phase of the plan, which is actually capitalizing the business for the purpose of purchasing that first Us Lifting Us market and exchange, retrofitting it so that it can, be able to create those jobs. But we're in stage 1 right now, which is the building of the membership to that target amount of 1,000 members. But again, because it's a for-profit, we're going to go well beyond 1,000 members.
Right.
We see Us Lifting Us having membership into the millions. Right?
And that's when it becomes the power. I get that.
Right. But our focus right now is getting this first market and exchange up and running.
Correct.
Because we feel once that first market and exchange is up and running, that becomes a global story for our people.
Right.
Because it's something that we have done with our own resources. We didn't go out to the white community, the Hispanic community, or whatever. We raised this money ourselves and said, hey, based on the spirit of self-determination and self-reliance, this is what we feel we must do, and this thing is reflective of who we are as a people.
Let me tell you what kind of attracted me to it. The fact that you allow the members, right, to look at the bookkeeping. And I'm thinking this is very, very essential. Not throwing any shots, right? But it shows the Africanness. It shows the openness of the co-op to see just how things are being run. That funds aren't being misappropriated.
Right.
And I think this is essential, right, in this particular co-op. Right? You want to kind of talk about that for a minute?
That's an extremely important point. Everything in terms of co-op business operates above board. Primarily because our members own it also. So it's not a DJ thing. Okay. DJ can't hide the books, can't cook the books. We've got members that are CPAs.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've got members that run their own business. They're used to bookkeeping and things like that. You see what I'm saying? So because they are also owners, they say what goes. In other words, I need you to email me the latest financial report. Guess what? There you go.
Right.
Every 30 days, our members get an update on not just the number of members that we have, but also all of the different accounts that we have, including our escrow account. You see? So all members are able to keep track of that.
That's deep.
Because they own it. And there's a responsibility that comes with ownership. Because again, it is important for our members to feel confident in this process enough to talk about it to their family members, friends, and co-workers. You see, so if something ain't right in terms of the records, then you're not going to go out and promote this thing because you got questions yourself.
And that's what we're suffering from in this particular community. The ability to see, what are you doing with our funds? It's been 2-3 years now. Where's it going at? Where are we in the process? Why is a person from the outside of the situation able to throw shots and crush the whole infrastructure? Because we really don't know what's going on with the books. And I think that's deep right there. And see, now y'all got a good answer, right, to that question. And so now y'all feel confident if you join the co-op. And I'm sure everybody who cares about black people, right, here's a process we've been looking for, DJ. You know what I'm saying? And I'm really appreciating you putting this work. I seen you from the infancy of it. Right now, what about people trying to be founders? What does that take?
That's another good question. Right now, as we are in this phase of building the membership, for those members who also become investors prior to us reaching our capitalization point, they will be considered founders, right? So once that first ULU mark is up and running, they will be honored Names could be in the wall, names on the rafters, but they will be considered founders and will be honored and memorialized, because this is something that we want to be able to show to our children and grandchildren. You see, but the other part about the cooperative units that are really even more important, they have the ability to be passed down to future generations. So when Ankh is issued a unit, Ankh has to name a beneficiary. You see what I'm saying? And based on the number of units that you own, you will be able to pass that along to your children and grandchildren, and they also have the ability to accumulate wealth from the sacrifices that you made.
Facts.
You see? So that's the generational wealth or intergenerational wealth component that's indicative of power as well. So that your children doesn't have to start over from square one. So that your grandchildren can stand on the shoulders of your children, and your children stand on your shoulders.
And that's the primary problem, and I'm glad that's an issue in our community. We don't even have insurance when we die. We don't have anything to pass on. That's why they're so fucking angry. Excuse my language, but that's why they're so angry, because we're not leaving them anything. So us uplifting us allows you that.
Exactly.
That's the key point right there. See, we're hitting on key points right here. Give you the reasons why you need to deal with that. You want to, in closing, you want to finish it off with something. I think it's been an excellent discourse, and I think people really get a real understanding. I would like to say that we're really surrounded by scholarship, information, to get your minds right. But even I, with the information we present, right, need a program to send people to.
Right.
We need something to do all the things you just spoke about, because the scholarship is just not going to do it. It is the scholarship that us as scholars present, right, is supposed to be taking you somewhere. That's why we formed the Umbrella Squad, because the scholarship wasn't taking us nowhere. We was flying in the cosmos somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Floating through the air. Not trying to be funny, but that's the truth. And so as scholars, we all need programs that we can, once the people's minds are right, we can now send them in a place where they're understanding Africa to the point where they can trust you.
Right.
And that's when you come in. And so what I like about us uplifting us, it does not dirty your brain.
Right.
It does not dirty the scholarship. You're not concerned about if you believe in this God or that God, or you're atheist if you're not. That's not the concern.
Right.
The concern is to pass on wealth to the next generations in a manner which is efficient for black people.
Right.
You want to finish that off with that?
Yeah, and to really get us in a position of power and control over our lives, so that we don't have to continue to suffer with these types of issues generation after generation after generation. The other point is, I really don't want people to look at Us Lifting Us or ULU as just an organization. What it is a system. So ULU is not a school.
Right.
It's a system that produces schools. You see, any number of schools, because it's based on what we need as members. We produce what we need.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But also, the most important aspect of ULU is that it is developing an alternative or a parallel economic system to capitalism that's rooted in our culture. You see? So it's not capitalism, it's anti-capitalism, but it still has the ability to help African people globally meet their needs. It's just not predatory. It's just not based on competition. So we can accomplish a hell of a lot more if we learn to work together, if we learn to cooperate. And Us Lifting Us, in my opinion, is the system to help get us there.
And I appreciate you, DJ, and creating that system right there, man. And I'm sure everybody out there will support. Give us that, how they can contact you. You said that upcoming events, kind of speak to that so we can close it out. It's very, very important.
Definitely. And the website again is www.usliftingus.com. Like us on Facebook. If you have any additional questions, you can email us at info@usliftingus.com. We're all over the country. If you would like us to come out and speak to your group, organization, or business, we'd be more than happy to come and talk about the spirit of cooperative enterprise and what positive impact it can have on our people. And I just thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to push this. We want to pass something on to our babies. It's essential. The women and children are tired of hearing about how great our history is. And I'm thinking this is a showcase to prove to them how great our history is. I appreciate you. I appreciate the organization. I appreciate the people that support me. I'm a Raw Squad Up, man, and y'all know what it is.
Black power.
Black power.